It's a brave new world. Got a game with no Io, no Coddle, no Medusa, so gonna be exciting. But even with the Medusa not in the field, you are still running a Storm, so Infamous will remove that anti-mage, but that means NoPing are going to get their hands on the Enchantress, a hero that had been pretty consistently sitting in that Phase 1 ban territory, but obviously things get shaken up a little bit here at the start of this draft, so uh, pretty sure between LeBron and Duster, it'll probably be Duster on that Enchantress, but either way, it's going to be tough for Infamous to deal with.
Yeah, and they do double down on their laning strength, I think, a little bit here. Of course, Enchantress Grimstroke, you hear those names and you say, well, this Storm is going to have a field day. He's just going to go for those kills, constantly looking for the backline. I do like the Shadow Demon pick. These guys are picking good heroes. I don't know. I like to see this, but at the same time, I think in the end, we've seen it time and time again. Just be that hero that can get through a Vanguard. It can get through these very tanky cores. And I think specifically with the Sand King, Infamous are going to need to be very careful. And as we talk about with the Enchantress as well, it ends up being a battle of the early game, a battle of centuries, a battle of gold, and whether or not you're the team that comes out ahead, it kind of feels those repercussions really across the map, especially if this is going to be a Duster Enchantress. We've seen what those forward position Enchantresses are able to do when they just simply get enough farm. They just become this unkillable threat around the map. They take the mid tower if they get a skeleton creep. It's just in the rotation. And I think, again, with Enchantress, it's always about having that just perfect, seamless, clean early game, and then the map just kind of falls into the palm of your hand.
Okay. Infamous grabbing themselves a Hoodwink. That's a hero that they actually tried to run in that previous matchup against NoPing back in the first round. Obviously, they lost 0-2, so it wasn't fantastic. And the Hoodwink, I don't know if it was a bad pick at the time, ET. It's just circumstances meant that the Hoodwink wasn't really able to contribute a whole lot. With this lineup for Infamous, maybe there's more opportunities for your Hoodwink to actually be proactive.
Yeah, and as we always talk about with heroes like the Storm and the Sand King, that's your extra damage. That's your 800 DPS that you can just kind of sprinkle on top. So the Hoodwink is definitely going to make the cores feel that bit stronger. Not to mention, again, another great hero on the sidelines to set up for those kills, for those fast rotations in. But that's also where the Underworld puts a little bit of a stop to everything, because that's your beefy boy. That's your guy that's going to be out in front. We'll see what he ends up going for. We'll even see if it is going to be maybe a Mr. Gene's Underlord, you know? We'll see. He likes that hero. I know he likes that hero. But at the same time, I think this is an interesting choice to go for. It kind of poses a lot of problems for Infamous's save, where even if you put a hero that's disrupted under, if you get that rift underneath them, then, well, you're going to get rooted regardless. Same with the Storm Spirit, where you always need to be very conscious of where you're zipping into. If you do get caught by these leashes, then you are very, very dead. Not to mention, versus Tiny specifically, you can't start your zip once you get in there. If you do get caught by that avalanche, it's just the intervals are just there annoyingly enough. So it's going to be a little bit scarier of a Storm game than I think we've seen previously. And to top it all off, you don't have that IO behind you to save you. You can't really be the frontliner. It's where we're going to need, I think, a very big hero on the Infamous carry side to get in front, get vision for this jump. Because, and I want to say very similar fashion to the series we watch from these teams, when that Sand King is going in blind, and he isn't going to be going in alone, but you need to get that vision. You need to scout out beforehand. You need to get that clean jump. Otherwise, it's so typical for a Sand King to just blink, bro strike, and then just immediately get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're the first one in and you don't really have the backup there in time, then kind of a quick and easy punish. And NoPing's lineup is very, very adept, at least on paper, at punishing anyone. The Sand King, the Storm Spirit, both of them. So, as you said, it feels like Parker's going to need to be on someone that has the ability to just sort of stand on the front line. In that previous series against NoPing, I believe they tried the Sven in one of the games, and Parker's personal stat line was still very impressive on that hero. So maybe something along those lines, just to have someone sort of beefy and physical damage oriented for themselves. But they still have plenty of options because the carry pool has been banned away a little bit in this draft, but I don't think that Infamous are going to be having to scrape the bottom of the barrel at this point. They've still got options.
Yeah, and of course, in that series, we kept on bringing it up. It felt like at the end of the day, the drafts were drafts where RDO was okay to farm, and it was Parker that was pushed to that timing, to those tight decisions where he needs to show up after he gets his item immediately, where RDO could waltz in with his PL and then just kind of farm and then win. because he didn't have to worry about losing his buildings all too fast. And that's something where having the Pugna and the Death Prophet both ignored in this draft, Tiny is certainly going to get his DPS in there, but it's where very interestingly seeing everybody bang out carries, it does make you wonder where this Tiny, or at least where they think this Tiny is going to end up, and maybe just stopping it from having that backup plan. But at the same time, I would love maybe if we see a hero like the Razor get picked up for Infamous. I think that even though it's not your Parker, be all end all, just having someone to really take a lane home, win it. Not to mention BKBs are brutal in this game. Nobody's going to be able to really touch you at that point. Not to mention shutting that pillar would be pretty sick. But okay, Kunkka, classic pick versus the Underlord. That's your bring back. I was thinking they were going to pick Kunkka as well, but it just is that weird balance of having a safe lane Kunkka with the Storm Spirit that you definitely have to make work for you. But classic counter versus pit lord. Anybody who goes through that rift is always going to be brought back. You always need to be very concerned with that bring back play. Not to mention just really good damage and a hero that can actually lane versus the pit lord if he does go off lane, where you just are constantly pushing the wave in just as much as the pit lord is.
Yeah, and it really ticks so many boxes. We said they needed someone sort of a little bit more durable on that front line, someone maybe physical damage oriented. The Kunkka sort of fits the bill quite nicely there. And as a position one Kunkka, maybe you can have Parker emphasize that damage output a little bit more than the sort of mid variant. So not a bad choice for that Infamous side. The question though for NoPing, how do they respond? Because the Tiny and the Underlord can still be shifted at this point, so they've got options on the board. Infamous, we're certainly assuming that this was going to be a carry pick, but it doesn't have to be right now.
It doesn't have to be, and I think that's where Infamous Bannout carries saying that NoPing might not want to run the Tiny into the Shadow Demon, as of course, Shadow Demon Purge is just brutal. You're not able to do anything at that point if you're the Tiny. You just kind of have to wait it out. Same time, Soul
Oh,
Catcher is miserable, but hey, there's the Razor, and I think they're going to be very happy with that pickup. See how they slot in here. Yeah, they will just send the Tiny mid. Still in a core position, but definitely is going to be a little bit more well suited getting that Blink Dagger timing as opposed to just playing for the run at you Shadow Blade Echo Saber buildup that we see so many safe lane Tinies get. But this Razor is going to be able to do a lot. He's going to be able to run in. It's a very obnoxious hero, and again, you're going to be winning one of your lanes pretty much automatically here. Do think he needs to be pretty careful versus the Sand King and the Hoodwink. There's certainly burst damage, and we've also seen what Storm Spirit especially can do when he gets that jump before the Razor takes off half of his HP. Then you pop the BKB afterwards, and you're maybe not so confident. But that's where having that refresher build, just having a 9-second window, 10-second window where you're just always immune. I mean, you're always going to take that.
mm-hmm. Yeah, the Razor's just going to be able to do so much, and especially against Parker's Kunkka, right? Because your Kunkka is not an in and out kind of hero. Once you're in the fight, you kind of tend to stick there. So feels like RDO's not going to have issues getting off a static link. Priority targeting is maybe a different story about who he actually does want to hit up with it, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to get the static link, and I don't know if Infamous can immediately break that tether for them. So they will have to deal with it. But on the Infamous side of things, I mean, ET, we just saw a series where Storm just kind of dominated both games. So Alone can certainly be the guy for Infamous here.
Yeah, and he really does need to be the guy. I mean, it's where the draft starts and begins. And I think that's where, with a lot of these South American teams, they certainly give them a safety net a little bit more. If not being able to save alone, you do have heroes that are going to go in before him. There are heroes that are going to make his jumps a little bit easier. And not to mention, once Infamous do break down these lanes, both the Sand King and the Hoodwink are just so adept at just anchoring down, staying in a lane, getting farm, but also keeping heroes there enough that you can find those split kind of pickoffs for the Storm Spirit, and seeing what Alone's able to do in the meantime is going to be very, very important. Where NoPing, they are much more death ball-y. Get this Blink Dagger on the Tiny. He's really our only initiator. Ink swallow him up, get him in, get this big brawl going, and then just have the strength heroes, have the more durable items, and then hope that you win. Infamous are looking for, I think, more of just that instant burst that we always see with Sand King. It's always where the drafts end up. Whenever this hero is picked up, you want your team fights over in a burrow strike. It's whatever that goes and extends past that timing that things get hairy.
Right. A window is going to be tight, but if Infamous hit it, then they're going to be sitting pretty. Meanwhile, want to point out one thing here, just for those of you who are wondering. The Hoodwink, just an exclamation mark as their name. This is still Michael. We were able to have that confirmed by production, so Infamous are not playing with the stand-in. It's Michael. There's just been some, I guess, shenanigans with his officially tagged account, but it's still him. So if you see a Hoodwink with an exclamation mark over your head, it's not Metal Gear. It's just Michael.
Feel very surprising, probably, if you do see him. But look at bottom, RDO.
It's
They're trying
this.
to do something obnoxious, to say the least here. They would love to get a disruption, but they already pre-quelled these trees. So when it comes to actually finding that bushwhack, it's certainly not going to be the easiest time here. But this could be some nice damage trade if RDO's not careful.
Doing his best lumberjack impression there early on, and if they can't get onto RDO, maybe they can hit up
Oh,
LeBron. Yep. No trees cut down in this area, so they should be able to make something happen. LeBron is not easily going down, and actually, hold on. He might not go down at all. He does skill up Nature's Attendance at level 1, which is not ideal, but if it keeps you alive from a tri-lane gank, then, you know, you will take it. Sets back the lane a little bit, but now this trap from Infamous has really not been successful, and I wonder how long they keep it up. The Shadow Demon's already sort of moving away, so maybe A just TPs himself top at this point, because I don't know how comfortable you're going to be laning the Kunkka alone long term.
it is a little bit awkward, but at the same time, I think they're kind of okay with this because even though the Kunkka is alone, it's very hard to actually get the punishment onto him. Sexy Fat still has to kind of be in this position, and getting the E level 1, he sure has the base damage, but he isn't actually able to push on the wave. So with the creeps, Parker is actually very, very safe. Meanwhile, RDO does not have that same level of security, not to mention with Baron taking so much damage, and look at that. They get it with the
Okay.
tree. That's super clean and super easy, and really not a lot lost. And if they can really mess up this Razor's early game, well, that recovery is certainly slower than a Kunkka's.
Right, yeah, the Razor doesn't exactly flash farm in too many circumstances, so, well, persistence pays off. They missed the first time, they go in a second time, and now it does appear that that A is making his way up top, gonna stop to deward that side camp first, but yeah, oh, hold on, I was gonna say job done, but he's actually making his way back down bot, so they may just look to keep pressure on this Razor, and here's the thing, if they can get onto RDO again, which I know is a big if, but if that does happen, ET, does NoPing consider bringing the Grimstroke down here and trying for the 3-on-3 lane just to protect him?
I honestly don't think that's an option, though. And does he get it? No. Doesn't get the bro strike onto LeBron there. Would have been another kill, even if it was a little bit of a reach. But if they do that, they don't have an Inkswell target. Even though they would be able to trade a little bit easier with the Stroke of Fate, they wouldn't be able to actually section off and get any of these kills. Not to mention, unless RDO has Boots of Speed coming out, and he does, but until he gets that, he can't really be aggressive either. I think they're just doing this very well played from Infamous. At the same time, LeBron has no creeps. This is the first time I think we've seen this Enchantress really as shut out as it is. He'd have to go to his opponent's camps to really get the creep that he's looking for. This is just, I think, perfectly played. Not to mention LeBron got very unlucky. Alpha Wolf maybe helps a little bit with the trading, but it's certainly not the power spike you're looking for on that hero.
Well, he's got a Centaur there in that camp. That might be a little more useful, but he had to go all the way over pretty far into his own jungle to find it, and RDO is still just kind of struggling. He's got the lowest last hit count among all the core heroes so far, so this has not been a fun experience for him as Michael. He's not actually going to TP out. Faked it for just a moment. I think maybe he was thinking about trying to help Parker up top because this Kunkka is now finally getting pressured. Sexy Fat and Duster, they had to wait for the levels, but eventually they're able to make that combo happen. They give Parker some tips as well there, trying to get in his head a bit, and NoPing tie it up 1-1.
Parker's effectively playing offlane Kunkka at this point, right? You know, getting no support. He's not playing like he's an offlane Kunkka, though. He greeted out for that Helm of Iron Will, and I think that's large in part while he goes, or why he goes down, especially because I mean, he's the guy with the salves, he's the guy with the regen. Parker's not the type of man in 731 to buy his own shit.
Expect me to buy my own tangos and salves? No, not the way that this works. The Parker, early death, but I think it's one that you can potentially accept here if you're Infamous. Meanwhile, mid, Duster takes the opportunity to fill up Guts' bottle, and, well, you know, so far this Tiny really is not giving up a crazy amount to the Storm Spirit. In terms of their last hits and denies, they're relatively even. It's just going to come down to which of the two sort of rotates into that jungle farm a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, and I think in this lane, of course, it's all about whether or not you're actually able to pull the Tiny into those really rough circumstances where he's tanking creeps, he's away from his tower, so he doesn't have his 3 armor. But unfortunately, if Guts just gets to static his creep wave on the other side, he's completely fine. But there you go. Finally some teamwork. Dodging out some of that damage from the Firestorm top.
Well, do they have... Well, now they have the damage. Never mind. Alone's going to zip in. They're looking to take
Oh,
down Duster first, or, well, Alone was trying to, but it turns out they got enough damage to get Sexy Fat first and then Duster, but over in the middle lane, Guts and LeBron able to combine forces to kill off Michael, but that's the support who was sapping mid as opposed to losing your entire offlane duo.
yeah. No, they're going to be very happy with that. Unfortunately, the cart did not aggro previously, but is Alone?
Is this doable? He does have some extra mana now, and A's actually coming in. They would rather really focus on Guts, I suppose, but this is not going well. Duster comes in with the Inkswell. Alone now doesn't have the mana to zip out.
No.
That was, mismanaged from Infamous there a little bit, and now, oh man, Guts gets himself a regen rune as well, so that just felt a little greedy. I think Alone thought his supports would be there a little bit faster than they ended up being.
Yep, definitely a little bit strange. At the same time, you know, they move past the Enchantress timing. They still get to deal with him by going on the heroes. You know, the cart dies. They don't get to push the creep wave in. But
Oscar, I don't...
Oscar?
This is not your side of the
He's,
map, my dude. You're going to silence
Oh,
him up. The Inkswell should hit. They even get the slow from the Enchantress to make sure he's not getting out of it. Burrow Strike, though, will buy him some time. He's looking for the TP, and he's got it. Okay. He's able to make his escape while up in the top lane. Sexy Fat not able to get himself out. Parker and Alone combine forces for the kill. So, well, one offlaner creates a distraction. The other offlaner gets taken down, and Infamous retake that kill lead.
yeah. And again, it's where Infamous have really well crafted their lanes here, where it's simply Parker getting level 6. They have the damage with Ghost Ship. They've effectively got 2 mid laners coming at you, and the hero that has had the best early game, who's got the range up, who's got the stick, doesn't get any support because he's so far up. It's a little bit unfortunate. I think Infamous are just really playing their early game quite nicely, and this is all before their timing as well, because you want the level 6, you want the sharpshooter, you want to have these big ultimates available to you, but he's just having a good time. And Oscar, from an ancient stack, he might get a little blown up here if he's not careful.
They don't have detection. They're just kind of guessing at his location, and now with the reinforcements coming, this could turn around.
Oh.
Oscar, he is going to die to the toss. No, he's not. The Raindrop actually keeps him alive. Oh, Oscar likes to live life dangerously. That toss damage is completely absorbed. He turns around for the kill onto Duster. They lose a tier 1 tower while all of that is going down, I suppose, but that he was dead to rights. I mean, he should have been dead, but NoPing turned away a little bit too quickly, and Oscar gets the last laugh.
Yeah, and until then, it was very nicely played from Oscar. Unfortunately, he wasn't the one who actually ended up getting all of those ancient creeps. It was killed by the avalanche. It was killed even by Alone a little bit, and of course, he almost dies. But everything kind of just works out. You know, you love to see it. Unfortunately, Guts was able to bottle the 8-minute rune, so the Storm Spirit's a little bit sad in that regard. But Guts' Blink Dagger is not quick. He's gone for the phase boots. He's gone for the full wand. This is not the same rush that we're seeing from the Sand King, and I think that's where Oscar is certainly playing up to pace right now. And once he has it, I mean, you can only imagine what they're going to do with that Storm Spirit.
Right, they've got the means to really sort of ramp up the pressure once that blink is finished off, so... Well, Oscar has his one brush with death, but now he's probably just going to pull it back a little bit and, yeah, ensure he finishes that item. So, Blink Dagger secured, and...
Look top.
Your NoPing. Gotta deal with this. Sexy Fat's gonna get jumped in on. Gets the root down first, but he's just taking too much damage. Duster's gonna try to help, but there's just nothing to be done. They get the Ghost Ship off. The X combo's there, and yeah, Sexy Fat will get picked. And now at this point, you know, your Underlord is relatively tanky, but this is the 3rd time he's been taken down now. It's kind of a similar rotation every time with Parker and Alone, so Really sure you can afford to just sort of sit him solo in that lane for much longer.
Yeah, it's also where unfortunately Guts has an incredible rune, but he has the wrong rune for the job. If he had a haste, if he had an arcane, then he could make that rotation just a little bit easier. But because he's got the DD, he would love to be farming stacks. He would love to be, I think, going for the greedier buildup, but it's just an unfortunate circumstance where every second he's not getting a kill in his hands, and unfortunately he didn't get the 2 kills he was a part of. It's always going to feel rough, but this is a fight.
Alone was able to grab the haste, though, so he's going to be able to just pick his moment to go back in, while Guts, he's just stuck in the middle of it, trying to toss heroes away from him, but his backup is going to die. Duster gets taken down, and the disruption will cancel the TP. As Guts will fall, and ET, every timing that NoPing would have wanted in these first 10 minutes is kind of going against him.
Yeah, it's certainly not too pretty right now. Even you get the little reset there, you get to fill the Storm's bottle, you get the X back, Kunkka gets some HP. Everyone's feeling quite happy, and that was also Blink Dagger reveal on Oscar. It's just a very nice timing from pretty much everyone, and all in the 10-minute rune, no less. It just felt like everything converged for a moment there. At the same time, figuring out ways to get RDO involved is going to be much more difficult, and this is a nifty smoke here. They'd love to lead with the Soulbind and RDO going in with the Inkswell very quickly, but unless it latches, Oscar can just blink out. Yeah, it's just not happening during daytime, and at least they have a cart here to put some more pressure on mid, and this should be a tower that they do claim relatively easily. Without the Epi, I think Oscar's going to be a little bit hard-pressed, but that's where Alone is testing the waters. I think they at least get the tower here, but they want to be cleanly out. LeBron, though, he's out 6. It's rough.
Ooh, that's a very nice return play, though, with the Soulbind. They get the double silence. And Guts wants to go back in. They get the Avalanche down. The toss is going to be there. They have to kill this Storm, though, but there's that defensive disruption. Keeping Alone alive. He can choose whether he wants to go back in or not. Oscar, though, he actually burrow struck in, so they may try to make this happen. They're getting it onto Duster. They're going to be able to blow him up. They've picked off LeBron as well. And Guts, you do not have a lot of health. He's sitting on a high stack wand, but now that he's popped it, Alone's just going to go right back in onto him. Burrow Strike applied. Tiny just can't really seem to get away right now, as the Bushwhack even pulls him back into the tree. They'll finish him off. And Sexy Fat, well, Sexy Fat was also there, but not really contributing a whole lot is what I was going to say. Very nearly gets Oscar, but eventually they'll bring him down. The Sand King runs. The Stroke of Fate was off the mark, and that is a very, very poor team fight. And at this point, I say Sexy Fat was there, but that was pretty much it. He really just isn't contributing a lot. Without that Rod of Atos, he doesn't have nearly as much lockdown as they would need, and now NoPing might lose even more. They're on the attack. They're going to look for some sort of pickoff, and they run right into the Grimstroke.
Yep, regen rune. There's no way they know what's going on there. They got their vision dewarded before all that. Again, it's clean. It's extremely clean from Infamous, and I think that's where NoPing, they need to wait for this Blink Dagger. They need to give Guts a lane, and that's exactly what they're doing bottom. Fortunately, Infamous don't find a way onto any towers, as their lineup will continue to struggle with that avenue. They certainly don't have the easiest time when it comes to pushing those objectives, but you also just feel like as soon as Guts gets this blink, everything needs to change. You need to get those perfect rotations. You need to get everything going for you. And I'm looking top. He got the break. It's still a rough kill, but I think Alone's got it. Man, it's just so easy for them.
They're just playing into every possible timing for Alone right now in this Storm Spirit. He's just racking up the kills, 6, 1, and 6. And, well, mentioned the Hoodwink, right? They picked it in that previous series against NoPing, and as we said, it wasn't a bad pick in that game. It just didn't get opportunities. This time, Michael is, well, just about everywhere. 2, 1, and 6 is pretty damn impressive for him, and we've seen that Bushwhack so many times. The Sharpshooter as well, just really enabling them that much more.
Yeah, and it's also with Infamous. I feel like you gotta mention it, where, of course, whenever they drafted their 5 gyro, it felt like that was really the catalyst for their games. But whenever the supporting cast of Michael and A get that much more XP, I mean, Michael's level 9 right now. The Storm's level 10. Oscar's level 10. They just use these early kills and they just translate it into such an XP advantage where it feels like NoPing, they need a one-team fight. The Grimstroke's barely level 7. You want that surplus. You want those higher levels up in Phantom's Embrace, but they literally are all in on this blink timing, I think, for them to kind of fix and pull back a lot here in the mid-game. And they've got the blink. Guts would love to find a target. They would love to kill Storm, but that's where also they play this living ward style, and they would love to jump mid as well, but during the daytime crossing the river, it's
they've
just
got
impossible.
Alone.
But Storm,
This is big. They need this kill. They cannot afford to miss it. Alone.
ooh,
There was a half second there where maybe he was able to get out, but they lock him down. Alone gets picked off, and Michael's getting chased. I don't know if they actually catch up to him. Guts does have the blink dagger coming back up, however, so Michael can't exactly stop running right now, but that's the play that they desperately needed. That kill alone may not be enough to get them back into it, but
Oh,
now they're looking for more. They're getting aggressive. They spotted Michael out once again, and this time they find the kill. Now Parker's revealed himself here. It's going to get a little bit dicey, but what the heck's going on over to the east? LeBron is keeping half the team very much distracted. Oscar and A are trying to track down an Enchantress kill, and even if they get this, I mean, it's not crazy valuable, and it allowed the rest of NoPing to make that push mid.
yeah, and that's where we got to see it more. We have to see that fear where Guts becomes that carry with these pickoffs just flowing into his hands where the Storm cannot show until the Tiny shows. The problem for NoPing is whenever that Tiny is showed or forced to show beforehand where this fight could get extremely messy, but that's also where you have the advantage of the Razor,
This
right?
isn't
And
it.
he's
They want onto
oh,
RDO. They might actually take him down. No, he's going to be able to get away. Now the Atos comes out onto Michael. They're going to be able to turn this into two, and it's one thing, ET, if NoPing are making these plays, but if you're Infamous, you don't need to help them. They get a little over-aggressive onto RDO, and that creates an extra opportunity that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
yep, and this is where the two different strategies in this game start to pull at each other, where Infamous are still looking at pickoffs, NoPing are the ball. They are the team that is going to walk around with each other, look for those easy tower pushes with the Pit Lord, and then the hard punishes with the Tiny. And RDO almost having his BKB, I mean, they're playing up to snuff. It's exactly what they want to do. Not to mention, the way Infamous have itemized is a little bit slower. Parker's the only one, I think, getting his BKB at that same timing as the Razor. Storm Spirit's maybe playing a half step behind, but you look over at Oscar, who's gone for Boots of Travel, he's gone for the Blink Dagger. They are certainly going to take their time a little bit more in this game. It's NoPings that are really the ones that want that clean, easy execution into objectives, and we'll have to see if they're going to able to keep this up, because I think once they get that BKB, they have every right to run at their opponents, and that's also where supports are catching up. Duster's almost level 9 now. You know, he was very far behind until those what felt like what 3-4 kills going their way.
Hmm. Yeah, he's starting to catch up. The Aether Lens is very nearly done, so I don't know. Infamous still have the lead, still have double the kill count of their opponents, but gonna have to right the ship a little bit here, and this is, I don't know, kind of an interesting thing with Oscar. You mentioned the Boots of Travel, right? So the idea would be, okay, you can use the bots, you can keep the lanes pushed out, you can stand in front of towers with Sandstorm maybe, but that's exactly what NoPing want, because then they're one sentry or one dust away from basically a free kill just like this, as Oscar gets caught out alone. And he's not dead yet, but I sincerely doubt that he's getting out of that one. Yeah, so these bots almost feel like you're kind of playing into the exact position that NoPing wants you to be in.
Yeah, and it's another issue, I think, historically with Infamous, where their early game goes so well, they loosen their grip a little bit, they itemize for winning the game at that current moment, and then they get caught in their opponent's timings, and that certainly feels like what's happening right now. It's another battle in the river, though. Guts needs to be careful about getting a Demonic Purge, but A doesn't have mana, actually.
Okay, they went in for the Ghost Ship combo. They're going to try to take down the Tiny, and then they've got the kill. Okay. Guts gets taken down, and now the fight's kind of over. The rest of NoPing really just have to back off. Duster, nice TP to get himself out of there. Okay. The Controlled Centaur will stun up alone, but that's really the limits of what LeBron can do here. But Infamous, it's a nice kill. The
Oh?
question is, can they find any more? As Oscar going in with the epicenter, they're onto RDO. His BKB was available, but he didn't pop it preemptively, so by the time he comes down from that burrow, he wouldn't have really been able to use it all that effectively anyway. So Infamous, basically the two most valuable kills they possibly could have gotten there, picking off Mr. Jeans and RDO, but now that's kind of the end of it. It would be nice if they could push onto this tier 1 tower, but they're not really in a position to do so.
Yeah, and it's not the biggest issue just yet. It's sad that that ward behind the tower is really what ends up killing the Razor, because Infamous immediately just leave. They decide that we can't push the tower. There's still this very annoying pit lord hero standing in front. We'll get him next time. And Oscar needs to be very careful in the mid lane, but I think he's got the reaction time right now, especially with this observer placed right next to him. he knows what's going on the enemy high ground. But now it's split time. Infamous get to pull apart the map. It's up to NoPing again to be the aggressors, and they have to hit. They have to find what they want, because this is also where you're okay when you're staying as 5 and you're winning fights, but if you go 50-50 in a fight, you don't win. Infamous can much more easily spread themselves out across with this double boots of travel setup with Storm Spirit. They can farm absolutely everything if your opponents are taking it away from you.
Mhm. And speaking of the Storm, Malone's got his BKB up and running. Parker's is online as well. So, well, if you're NoPing, you really got to get the jump. Otherwise, that BKB comes out and your primary initiator in the form of the Tiny actually can't do any initiating. So, let's see if they can find the play or not, because Infamous are actually looking like they're the ones. Yep, the ones who want to make the move. 5-man smoke. Let's see what they can find. Oscar, that's a very aggressive blink. Getting onto Sexy Fat. Gonna try and hit him up with that Torrent combo as well. Keeping the Underlord out of the fight for as long as possible as they do take him out. But now Guts. Oh my god, Guts. He's just getting blown up. He's gone. Guts is already dead, and now the rest of NoPing are just going to get completely run down. Duster trying to get away. Parker's not going to let him go, and that fight was awful if you're NoPing, and it's not over. Oscar's in, getting onto the Enchantress. LeBron's not dead off of the initial epi, but Alone's now coming in to help. Doesn't really have any more mana, but I don't know if LeBron can really do this. They're going to just basically track him down. Yeah, there we go. Tracking him down to get the Bushwhack in. There's going to be the Vortex. And LeBron is just trying to buy time at this stage, and eventually he will die.
Don't you just love Enchantress? What a great idea that hero was.
Just love it. It's like, listen, you are going to kill me. I have accepted that. But I'm going to make you work for 45 seconds to actually do it.
Yeah, but at the same time, before that, it's still, what, 4 deaths going the way for Infamous to just kind of take everything. That was their double BKB timing. They land, everything kind of hits, where, unfortunately, as we always talk about with this tiny hero, you go for the Echo Saber, you question whether or not you have to disassemble to get this BKB, because that's where we need our tiny to be at, especially if he's going to play versus the Shadow Demon. And unfortunately, we're just not there. We're not seeing that 14-0-1 Tiny where Guts is just constantly finding these kills, even though he surely can, but it's just not really happening right now. Not to mention, he's got enough gold for a Force Staff? That's huge. These supports on Infamous are just very easily building themselves up. I mean, last time we saw Michael play, he had an Octarine core like it was nothing on Hoodwink. He just gets his farm no matter what. And I think if they're NoPing, they're certainly playing a little bit more scared now. I think they know that they can very easily get run at now. The problem is they kind of have to run at their opponents at the same time, though, because Infamous are just that much better set up to go around the map. I mean, they just take everything.
Right. You have to be an aggressive squad, but your aggression is far from guaranteed to actually work out for you. So, bad choices on both sides if you're NoPing, but you got to try and power through and make something happen. The question is, what really is the play? Because if you look at their lineup, I mean, there is some stuff they can do, right? They've got the Blink and the Echo on Tiny, and RDO has a BKB, so if you can get him into the middle of the fight with the Eye of the Storm and the Static Link, good things could happen, but to this point, RDO hasn't really been overly involved in very many fights.
Yeah, I think very simply, yet again, the Tiny's just overloaded. It's the other issue where Infamous can recognize very easily if the Tiny shows anywhere, and it's why Guts has not been hitting creeps. Guts has really fell off the farm, because if he is hitting creeps, then he's taking away from the Razor. If he's hitting creeps, he's showing where he is. Sexy Fat is also just dying, because he really has no place. He just gets caught in the smoke rotation after that bot tier 2. There's no good option for the Tiny, because if he shows in a wave, then Infamous aren't dying. At the same time, that's a nice nifty dodge from Alone and double kill. I mean, there's just nothing you can do versus this hero.
Braun was able to TP away in the north side jungle. Parker had 1 second left on the X combo, so one of their heroes is able to get away, but getting your support out of there compared to losing a core like Sexy Fat is a bit of a rough deal, but at this point, I don't know. We've talked about RDO, right, needing all this farm, so Guts is falling off, and as you were mentioning when he was getting picked off there, Sexy Fat just doesn't have a role to play in this game. He's not tanky enough to just stand on the front line. He can't really initiate fantastically even with this Atos, so he's just kind of caught in between with very little to do at the moment.
Yeah, and we're just getting too much farm. There are 2 Force Staffs picked up by the supports on Infamous. The luxury items are getting built up. You're finally going to see that BKB built up from Oscar. It's another nice smoke from NoPing. Their lanes are in pretty decent spots. They've got the Enchantress creep pushing off the wave. They love this rat, and they will get the toss.
Okay. Quick and easy. Oh, hold on, Parker. That's a far more valuable kill. They're going to be able to root him up. No, they're not. BKB coming out. He's going to drop the ghost ship, but RDO came in, popping the static link. Parker has to just TP away. They don't have any way to get through that BKB, but...
Ooh.
Where are they going? They're heading down bot. Affliction, though, is not gone. They get him with the root. And, yeah, there is now no way out for that Shadow Demon. They didn't actually have any... They didn't have any vision there. That was just a nice guess from Sexy Fat. So, just when I was saying he doesn't really have too many opportunities to do anything, he's able to set up a nice kill there, but...
Oh, this would be perfect.
Do they have the damage for this? They're going to try it. They've got the static link down. Parker is stunned up. Dropping low. There's going to be the jump in from the Sand King. They've got a load into the fight now as well. And RDO, this is the problem. He used his BKB the last time around. It's not available here. They're going to be able to take him down. Parker will die in exchange, though, as Guts finally gets in on the back line, but... This is going to cost them too much, ET. They've got to try and bail out as quickly as they can, but Alone not giving up on the chase. He doesn't have mana, but with the bushwhack there, they're keeping Guts locked in. He's got the wand. Can he pop it? No, he can't. Alone finding the triple kill, looking for more. But Sexy Fat is now finally starting to get a little bit of damage in here, and I don't know if they want to stick around. Although... Oh! What a shot from Michael. Oscar gets the first kill off of the... I think off of the Sandstorm, but... The Acorn bounces and finishes the fight. That's just... That's so unfortunate for NoPing, because they were holding their own for a decent amount of time there, but I think they just maybe go a bridge too far, so to speak, and that last fight really turns against them.
Yeah, and I want to say they even got a little bit lucky on that Kunkka kill. I mean, the leash lands on a Sand King blinking into Sun Yu. Oscar doesn't get his Bro Strike off for what feels like ages, but
Oh my God,
it just doesn't matter. And, well, this is ridiculous, but he can just zip away. No punish.
Okay. Well, might need a couple more zips at this, right? There we go. Nope, there we don't go. Guts, look at the interception. Very nicely done to find that kill, and... Okay, Alone... no sugarcoating it. That was a completely and totally unnecessary play. You get a kill onto Duster if that goes perfectly. If it doesn't go perfectly, you give up a kill to the Tiny. So, maybe a little too greedy there.
And a lot of gold towards Guts. I mean, now BKB is not looking so far away. Have to get an Ogre Axe donation, basically, from your opponent. But, hey, that's why the Storm doesn't get banned, right? You can still just do that to him, but... the problem is all of the turmoil he causes in the meantime.
Just kill him. Super simple, just kill him. But yeah, a lot of money over to Guts. You see Sexy Fat now getting his BKB up and running as well. So slowly but surely, NoPing have survived, let's say, that sort of initial aggression. The question now is, can they take the next steps to really turn this around? RDO.
Ooh, this is sad.
Oh. LeBron, yeah, there's no getting out of that one. Sexy Fat, though, is still kind of holding near the tower. I don't think he's getting any reinforcements, though, and that's a tier 1 that has basically no health, so this really is not a defendable position at all.
No. Free tower, very easy for them, and that's where also in this game, unfortunately, NoPing would love to somehow force a fight around the pit, but it's one of those odd games of Dota where no team really has the easiest time taking out Roche, but Duster, well, Alone got his man.
And now... Wait, he doesn't have a TP, so he has to actually zip himself out of here, but... If RDO and Sexy Fat aren't going to chase, then there's no need to... Okay. No need to be overly concerned as Sexy Fat has to pop the BKB there, thinking he was going to get jumped in on. And he might be thinking correctly, because they are jumping. RDO has to get back in the base at this stage. He's trying to do something with what was left of his ult as he did pop it, but really not a whole lot to be done there. That's a very sort of broken play from Infamous, but it does exactly what they wanted, because all of NoPing are now back in their own base.
Yeah, and of course, lots of BKBs traded, lots of spells used, but unfortunately, really, until that Razor has the Refresher and he's gone for the Lincoln Sphere in the meantime, you're not going to see that advantage for the Razor come up just yet. And I think until then, Infamous want you to use their BKBs. They're okay with it being very low. I don't think they really care all too much after the fact, and that's where Guts will have the longest BKB once we get to that point, but it's still very, very scary. And I think that's where NoPing, it's starting to feel a little bit lost. They're kind of just playing up the whims of their opponents. Infamous can't push your buildings, but NoPing can only defend. We don't see them really get on the aggressive that much. They really are just kind of stuck with the heroes they have. They kind of have to just wait while Infamous very slowly but surely just keep on pulling ahead net worth wise and get, again, more and more of those luxury items, more of those tools to start cutting these heroes. Parker's going to have a Satanic pretty soon here, and then he can pretty much infinitely stay out onto the map. He's never afraid of anything really at that point, even though he'd love an AC on top of it. The problems are just on the horizon here. It still feels like NoPing are the ones that need to really deal with this aggression. In Guts, he's, what, 50 gold away, 66 from his BKB? If they take a fight now, it's just disastrous for the Tiny.
Yeah, NoPing at a point in the game where they don't have a lot of agency. They're just reacting to what their opponents can do. As Sexy Fat pops a BKB, he'll TP away. Good for him. Not so good for LeBron, because the Enchantress pushed over, I guess, to try and help get Sexy Fat away, but he didn't actually need the assistance there, so LeBron just kind of throws his life away. But it's an Enchantress. Low death timer, 30 seconds out, but in those 30 seconds, Infamous are going to push for Roshan.
Yep, and this is where the Satanic, Parker can just do this. He can just win a brawl versus the Roche, and certainly has to be a little bit concerned about getting bashed, but really isn't, I think, too concerned with anything else. And again, if Guts ever shows his face, they know that the fight's coming. If Guts is showing anywhere, then they know it's not coming. As soon as he attacks his creep wave, Infamous know that they have the Roche. Nobody is scared at all, even though they are very postured in case the smoke was coming. And, well, there you go. Alone gets an Aegis, even more mana to work with.
First Aegis, as you often mention, is not always the most sort of game-changing of items, but in the hands of the Storm Spirit, it does take on a little bit more prominent of a role here. So Infamous, well, I guess we'll see just what they look to do here, because NoPing have not been overly greedy at the moment. They've been playing cautiously. They haven't presented too many targets for their opponents to jump in on over the last couple of minutes, although this is going to get a little bit interesting. Sexy Fat TPs himself mid. Guts is coming in as well, but Alone had the vision on him the whole time. And where's that BKB? Oh. It comes out now, but now might be too late. They have to rush in reinforcements to keep him alive. Meanwhile, Parker, just looking for the kill, needs a little bit more damage. It's Oscar who's going to come in, needs to wait for the BKB to end, but once it does, Guts does get taken down. No buyback available, and I don't know if NoPing can really take this. They're going to go on to A, and maybe that's a kill they get, although he force staffs himself away. He's actually still not dead yet, and Oscar, look at him waiting in the wings, gets the burrow down, and that's just an absolute disaster. The fight's done. NoPing have nothing left. They just walk face first into that trap, and they're going to get wiped out.
Oh my goodness. He turns, he gets the Soul Catcher, he drags them out so deep, and I mean, Guts died to that Sand King. He knows exactly where he is. I feel like they should have known what was coming, but Oscar does not disappoint. And man, oh man, that was, you could arguably say, a 4v5, because Parker had to just BKB TP out. He got out barely with just the tail end of his item, but at the same time, that's rough stuff. And until you get the refresher on Razor again, you can't stay in the fight that long. It's where Infamous, they jump you with the Storm, they get your BKB, they leave, they reset, they get their second, third set of spells off, and it's just free damage. There's no glyph. I mean, they get to do whatever they want to this tier 3 until these heroes respawn.
Oh, in the fountain. Okay, hello, Alone. That's a charge and a half. He's got the X on him, though, so no threat whatsoever, as Oscar's the one to get the kill, and Duster, well, you never really see that play coming, I suppose, as he gets picked off. And the downside is that Infamous couldn't get much damage onto the tower, but they didn't have a creep wave, so they weren't really going to be getting damage onto the tower anyway. That just frees up Alone to find a freebie, and but they can still maintain control of the map. That's the other thing here. All of the lanes are pushing out in their favor. They do need to get through this tier 2 tower top, but it looks like Parker's already on that, and there just isn't anything for NoPing to do right now other than sit and wait for, I guess, another fight.
Yep, NoPing, our mode, defend high ground, and it's what the Pit Lord does so efficiently that it causes a lot of teams headaches, but it's also where Infamous are just ready to take the map already. And RDO, he's getting poked, he's getting pressured so much, he wants the BKB, and Alone will just get brought out, but Parker, okay.
Well, Parker's a little far forward there, but he's holding his own BKB, so should be okay. He has the ghost ship fleet.
Just keeps
How is he
going. Yeah.
25 already? Damn.
Just never ends. It's always the pressure. It's incredibly patient from RDO, but he knows if he uses his BKB, then they can hit the tower. Then my teammates all need to play even more reactively. We get these things forced out of us. It's just Infamous get all the trades they want, and ooh, Sexy Fat is dead.
Doesn't even get the chance to pop his BKB. He does have money for buyback, however, and they may need it because Duster's going to get picked off here as well. Now they're trying to get onto the Enchantress. At the same time, actually, they're taking 2 fights because Guts is the one who's in trouble down bot. The Purge is not enough to kill him off. But they are forcing him back. Now he has to activate the BKB, and as soon as he does, Oscar says, I'm out. I did what I wanted. Pulled your BKB, TP himself away, and now NoPing are just getting bled to death, right? Because they used the buyback on the Underlord. They don't have BKB on Tiny. They don't have LeBron because he got blown out of the sky, and Guts, I don't think he was listening when I said he doesn't have BKB, because he just waltzed right in there. He's not really going to get punished for it, however. He's able to just walk back into base, but I don't really know if NoPing can do anything here. They're trying desperately, but even if they somehow got alone, he's still sitting on the Aegis, so he would have been brought right back up.
Yeah, just completely fine. They TP back, they reset. How many times are we going to see these Boots of Travel heroes TP to Fountain after overextending? Doesn't feel like they're overextending anymore. They walk back to your side of the map, and they just look for everything. Now, the Storm can't help him right now. This could be a little bit of misplay, but everyone else... Ooh.
Ghost Ship is in. LeBron gets taken down first. No buyback available. Guts tried the Abatos onto the Kunkka. That only takes away about half of Parker's HP, though, so he's sitting pretty. Just gotta wait for that Satanic while Oscar comes in. Gets the Burrow Strike onto Sexy Fat. They'll hit him up now with... Okay. With the Bushwhack into the Zip. Alone gets the drive-by, and now he's on to Guts. Guts has his BKB back up now, but at this point, he's just trying to get back into the Fountain. Alone chases him. Gotta be a little bit careful there, but he's gonna be A-okay, and while he was providing the distraction... The middle lane of Rax was taken in its entirety, and Alone may not be done. He just keeps on zipping back and forth. He's got those null talismans back in his inventory, so just looking to be as obnoxious as possible, trying to break up the rhythm of these defenders, and they're actually going to go for it. Oscar's in with the Epicenter. If they could take down Guts here, there is no buyback on that Tiny, and that could just straight up be the game. He's dead for 70, but it depends on whether Infamous want to go after the tier 4s or not. It looks like Alone's just looking for kills, and he's got another one. Duster is dead, RDO is trying to hold in his Fountain, and that's just going to be the GG called. NoPing will throw in the towel, and Infamous just dominate the opening match of this best of 3.
Yeah, no, that wasn't even close. It didn't look close. I mean, they were just forced into this position where they're getting out-farmed by their opponents, they're getting out-initiated. Alone really proved, and as we always talk about, just individually a powerhouse. I mean, he just put the game on his back. He made this look like an impossible game from beginning to end. And I think, yet again, we are not seeing the answers to the Storm Spirit hero, aside from, I think, just banning it out. And we'll see if NoPing decides to change things up and let something through. But this hero is just insane. We're going to keep calling it insane. We're getting there with this hero.
Yeah, and like you were asking Hi Shaggy in that interview after the previous series, where's the breaking point? He said we should kind of be there already, and case in point, right? Alone, stat line 23 and 17. So Alone is very, very talented in the middle. There's no denying that. At this point, I think you let him play literally any other hero mid. Just don't let him have the Storm, because this hero's just way too strong.
Yeah, I think it's just a liability at this point. And hey, Infamous, at the very least, we got to see the other side of Storm Spare when you're not just straight up comboing it with another 4 or 5 position. Just give him, another 1,000 damage to, dash out on some kills. Give him some offlaner that's gonna set him up. Give him a carry that can set him up. I mean, Infamous just had a beautifully crafted lineup for killing their opponents, and that's exactly what they did. They just killed NoPing over and over and over again on repeat. I think NoPing feel work too.
Yeah, they just got completely blown up at every possible opportunity. You take a look at the stat lines across the board for them. Guts is the only one to even go even in this game, and just barely at that. So, not fun. Some changes forthcoming for NoPing. Step 1, either pick the Storm for yourself, or please, dear God, ban it away. But we'll have to wait and find out. Game 2 going to be coming up in about 10 minutes here, so we'll see if NoPing can make the adjustments necessary to fight their way back into this, or if Infamous are going to roll their way to a 2-0 sweep. So stick around. Be back in a bit.